Hey guys, my name is Max and welcome to Simple Biology. In this video we're going to be talking about selective permeability. Now if you remember back to the last video, we introduced membranes and all the concepts behind those. Now probably one of the most important properties of a membrane is that it is selectively permeable. This means that it allows certain substances through while preventing other substances from passing through the membrane. This is actually one of the major properties of a membrane that allowed life to exist in the first place, because one of the biggest properties of life is that in our cells we maintain different chemical environments inside and outside of the membrane. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit more in this video. Now first, kind of just a little chemical background of why selective permeability occurs. If you remember back to the membrane, the inside of the membrane is hydrophobic. That means you need a hydrophobic molecule in order to pass through that membrane. Such things that will pass through the membrane are small molecules, because it has to be small enough in order to get through the spots, otherwise it won't work that way. And it has to be nonpolar. If it's nonpolar, then it'll be hydrophobic and it'll be able to enter the hydrophobic region of the membrane. On the other hand, those molecules that will not pass through a membrane are large molecules such as major proteins, different large carbohydrates, just things that are too big to get through the little spots between the sliding phospholipids or whatever, and anything that's charged or polar. Now if you remember, charged and polar molecules are going to be hydrophilic. In other words, they won't mix well with the lipids that are on the inside of the membrane, the hydrophobic region, so that will keep out any charged or polar molecules and anything that's large. Now, there are certain molecules that the cells want to allow through. For example, different ions and water, and just there are certain things that might be too large or might be charged or polar, and the cell actually will want to allow through the membrane. That's why the cell's membrane has transport proteins, and all membranes have transport proteins. There are a couple different kinds, channel proteins and carrier proteins. Channel proteins are transport proteins that allow charged or polar molecules through, and they just allow it through just a channel. That's where it gets its name. The molecule will just pass through an opening in the protein. On the other hand, carrier proteins will actually bond with that molecule through an intermolecular force, and that will cause it to change its shape and transport the charged or polar molecule across the membrane. So there are various reasons the cell might want to have either one of these two, and a lot of times it's linked to how much the cell wants to control that process. For example, if the cell uses a carrier protein as opposed to a channel protein, it can actually regulate that carrier protein more easily than it can a channel protein. Another interesting thing is that the inside of these proteins will actually be hydrophilic. So that is again related to its function, in that it allows those hydrophilic molecules to pass through. So the interior of that transport protein is going to be hydrophilic. One very important example of transport protein is an aquaporin, and this is actually a channel protein, but it transports water, and that's where it gets the word aqua for, or the part of the word aqua. And aquaporins are just very essential because it allows water to be transferred into and out of the cell. Obviously, the cell is entirely in aqueous solution, so water is arguably the most important molecule that a cell can have inside of it. So that's really it. Selective permeability is as simple as that.